let's get cracking. I haven't worked on a story or this hard. I don't think ever in my life. Spent 10 hours on this thing. And I'm telling you, it's taken 10 years off my life. I will die at 71. No. I'll make it beyond that. All right. We begin with exclusive Blake Lively and Baldoni news. It relates to the inner workings and dealings of the supporting actors in this drama. Ever since Brian Friedman, Justin Baldoni and Wayfarer Studios' lawyer responded to Blake Lively's civil complaint of sexual harassment against Justin by filing a $400 million defamation countersuit against Blake and including everyone connected to her. Her husband, Ryan, publicist Leslie Sloan, Wayfarer's former publicist Stephanie Jones, everybody's filed their own motions to dismiss themselves from the suit, and they've filed suit against each other. It's a mess. So you got Blake and you got Justin at the top, but underneath you've got a publicist war like you would not believe, right? And now in this day and age, you see those things. It used to be that the publicists were never seen, and now they were the ones pulling the strings. Now you see it. To properly digest this latest craziness, you have to understand the family trees of both teams. All right? So first up, the starting lineup for Team Blake. Okay, you got Blake and Ryan, obviously. I don't think they need any explanation. But on their team, they've got their chief lawyer, Mike Gottlieb. This guy watches every news program. He calls to opine on story edits and structure. He's very meticulous. He's not as well known as his opponent, which we will introduce in a minute, reintroduce Brian Friedman. You probably know that name because you read it all the time. But then underneath Mike, you got Leslie Sloan. She is the PR representative for Blake Lively. She's legendarily tough. She can be difficult. I've dealt with her many times. Harvey Weinstein funded her company when she broke out to start her own shop. She later distanced herself from Harvey like everyone else. Then they brought in the crisis communications guy, Nick Shapiro. Nick was brought in when the shit got above Blake's waiters. Former deputy chief of staff and senior advisor to the director of the CIA. So they brought in some heavy guns. All right, let's take a look at Team Baldoni here. Justin and Jamie Heath are at the top of that. They're partners in Wayfarer Studios. Justin Baldoni, Jamie Heath, producers. Wayfarer, the producers and the financiers, along with Sony of the movie It Ends With Us. Jamie, like I said, the CEO of the company. There he is standing next to Justin. Justin, the co-founder and director of It Ends With Us. They both answer to the chairman of Wayfarer, Steve Sarowitz, the billionaire who funded the company. Then you got Brian Friedman. This is the 800-pound gorilla of lawyers. He understands both courtrooms better than anyone. The actual one, presided over by Judge Lewis Lyman, and the public opinion one, presided over by you. Then you got their public relations team. Jennifer Abel, senior publicist for JonesWorks PR. She was until she left. Baldoni was her client. So she worked for JonesWorks and their CEO, Stephanie Jones. She went out on her own. When Wayfarer left JonesWorks, they had been working day to day with Abel, and Abel started her own company, and she retained Baldoni as a client. Then you got Melissa Nathan, whom Abel brought in. She's a crisis communications expert brought into the fold by Jennifer Abel and Wayfarer for 1 month when it became clear last July that Blake Lively was sharpening her teeth against Baldoni and Heath, believing that all her bad press couldn't be because of her. It was because of them smearing her. All right, so now Stephanie Jones files a complaint against her ex-employee, Jennifer Abel, for breach of contract, trying to steal clients and business and smearing her. She files that on 12/24. So remember that. That's an interesting date, 12/24, right? Because you got Blake Lively's civil complaint that she files in the state of California on the 21st. The next day, the New York Times has their giant expose on the 22nd. And then you got Stephanie Jones filing her suit against Wayfarer and Baldoni on 12/24. Bang, bang, bang. 3 majors right there 3 days in a row. Be interesting that nobody was talking to each other. Anyway, Stephanie Jones fires first. Jennifer says that's BS and files a third-party complaint seeking indemnification from Stephanie Jones' lawsuit. Stephanie and her lawyers counter with a memo that cites text messages that they say proves their case. Here's the problem. What she provided are several texts that appear to be out of context. I've gone through them. And while there are multiple examples, I'll give you three. On July 29th, in Stephanie Jones' memo and original complaint, by the way, she includes a text from Melissa Nathan to Jennifer Abel, taken off Jennifer Abel's phone, which she turned back into Stephanie after she quit, which says, once you're gone, we'll be on many accounts together and we'll make really good money and be happy. Stephanie Jones states, this is evidence right here that Jennifer Abel was communicating with co-conspirator Melissa Nathan about their scheme for Abel to leave JonesWorks, poach its clients, and profit at JonesWorks' expense. First of all, Jennifer Abel submitted her letter of resignation almost 3 weeks before on June 10th, so it would be hard to be scheming at that point. She was still on. Stephanie Jones didn't want her to leave yet. But she is setting up her own shop, her own PR firm, which she has done. But if you follow this trail of texts, you learn this exchange between Abel and Nathan amounts to Nathan consoling Abel after she was allegedly, she upset her boss, Stephanie Jones, over missing a phone call for comment regarding a damaging article about a different client because she was asleep at 4 o'clock in the morning, like a normal person does. By the way, that other client, another JB, Justin Bieber. So check out this article. Here it is. The headline of it was rewritten by a very irritated Stephanie Jones. She got to it. She handled it. She wasn't thrilled that she had to do it. So that's what that's about. Then on August 13th, in Stephanie Jones's memo, she includes two texts from Jennifer Abel to Melissa Nathan, now working for Wayfair, that say, we're going to war. Followed immediately by, I feel so alive. Stephanie Jones states that this is evidence that Abel admits while she was employed at JonesWorks, she was boasting to Nathan about her overt hostility to the company. We're going to war with her. We're out of there. Let's go. Problem is, Jennifer Abel is not referring to anything about JonesWorks. She's referring to that, you'll remember, that terrible statement Blake and Ryan drafted on Wayfarer's behalf in an effort to shift public backlash away from Lively's sort of public missteps during the film's marketing. In response, Jennifer Abel says, a big, giant F you no. We are going to war. You know what that means? It means we won't let Justin and Jamie respond to extortion. We're not going to let them put out this statement that Ryan and Blake wrote for them. Stephanie Jones is trying to manipulate this to make it about her. Going to war with my company. Okay, context in these things. You can put a text out there and say, this means that. But when you see the text around it, as I've asked to see the text the real communications that surround those from Jennifer Abel and Melissa Nathan. I've seen the flow, and you can see the context, and it is all about Blake, and it is not about Stephanie Jones. Well, let's go to the third example. On August 14th, in Stephanie Jones' legal memo, she includes a text from Melissa Nathan to Jennifer Abel, venting, as if she were talking to Stephanie Jones, saying, Stephanie, are you aware that there's a kill story from Business Insider, in this case, dropping this week on you? And if you hadn't have blown us up, we wouldn't be in such a bad place. Stephanie says this is evidence that Abel and Nathan are admitting that they worked with Business Insider and its reporter to actively undermine Jones's reputation and business through a hit piece, a total takedown. Well, to that point, Stephanie's lawyers said this to me last month.
There's text message after text message after text message that says things like how she and Melissa Nathan were conspiring about a kill story on Steph. Those are their words, not ours.
Actually, in full context of all the texts, when you look at the flow, again, not just the segmented text taken out, which I've read the full context. Stephanie Jones sent a Hollywood Reporter article about Wayfair's hiring of crisis communications expert Melissa Nathan to the president of Wayfair, a woman named Tara Hanks, to show Wayfair that they messed up by hiring Melissa Nathan. Look, she can't even keep herself out of the press. So Melissa is texting Jen Abel, and she's basically venting about Stephanie, saying, girl, why are you trying to trash me to my new client when you should be more concerned about this hit piece on you, which everyone knows about? The reporter's been calling around for comment from all of them. I could go on. There are several other examples, but taken together, they beg the question, did Stephanie Jones' lawyers, who ultimately assembled the legal memo, know that the texts that they cited were out of context? You know, I have to assume they didn't know. They emphatically told me that the evidence in their legal memo is factual and presumably in context.
We don't need to speculate about that. It's in their own words. They intended to steal all of her clients and leave and make lots of money. They said those words. So we don't have to speculate about what their intent was and what their plan was. They said it themselves.
Yeah,
I met both these lawyers. They seem like fine people. They're nice. I mean, they told me the other side has no comments about the substance of the text, but they do. I've seen the text. I've seen the context. And the lawyers in this case are wrong. I called them for comment. From Marin Shah, attorney for Stephanie Jones, she said Jennifer Abel and Melissa Nathan don't want to address the mountain of well-founded evidence at the center of this lawsuit: breach of contract, stealing reams of confidential company documents, and spearheading a smear campaign and hit piece against Mrs. Jones. Neither Abel nor Nathan has responded to the facts. Instead, they're spinning baseless conspiracies in the press. That's not how this works. We look forward to the court deciding this case based on the evidence and not their distractions. Look, this is going to be decided by the court. You've got all these texts, whether you lay out to a judge, you're laying out to a judge hoping that the judge just dismisses it. So you lay out the texts that look most, poignant. So you lay those out hoping the judge says, oh my gosh, well, that's obvious. I mean, these are terrible. You said you're going to war with your former boss. This is terrible. All right. The truth is, you've got to see the context of the whole thing, and we have. And look, this to me goes to trial, and everyone will be under oath, and they'll have to go out there and share everything. But can you just see for a second, there is a war raging underneath, and then you've got Baldoni and Lively at the top, which is actually, for the moment, quiet, but it won't be. And ultimately, there was an article written by the Hollywood Reporter 2 months ago, and it really sort of lays out the reporting. I thought was pretty good. What really happened here? It is my opinion that what happened here is, look, there was a moment just before the movie It Ends With Us came out in August. There was a moment where things were heating up between Blake and Baldoni, and Baldoni's like, what? They're coming after us, and we have to defend ourselves. And they come to this truce, this moment where it's like, everybody stop. We've got a great movie here. And it ended up making $350 million on a $25 million budget or $40 million budget. It did very, very well. So everybody stop. And at that point, according to the Hollywood Reporter, Stephanie Jones decided, wait a minute, I need to show my clients Wayfair, who I've had for 8 years, although my Jennifer Abel is the point person, I am the CEO. I need to show them I'm engaged. I'm not just spending time with my big clients like Chris Hemsworth and Jeff Bezos and people like that, and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. So they report that she reaches out to the Daily Mail, a reporter there, and tries to influence things. Wayfair finds out and says, what are you doing? We had a truce. We had a truce. We weren't going to do anything. Please don't do that. And they move to fire her and get rid of Wayfair. And at that point, all hell breaks loose. And Stephanie Jones says, it's you two publicists that did this. Couldn't be my actions. It's you two that did this. And they're saying, no, you two did this. And now that publicist war, is going to rage. It's funny because the only thing Stephanie Jones really wanted was what she said is money owed to her. and there was, according to my source, an amount offered. I guess it wasn't enough. So this thing will go to trial. But, you know, it's interesting to read these documents. And I have to say, it's not my strength. My head is absolutely going to explode. But I think I did a great job.